A full Friday slate around Major League Baseball, a great weekend in the bigs ahead. And my first question is, who did Donnie Rightside have to pay off to have the Phillies in the Orioles game with the graphic have the title World Series preview? But maybe they're not all that wrong. 46 wins for the Phils, second most in MLB. 45 on the other side for the O's, third most in Major League Baseball. That means this weekend inside Camden Yards, it's the second best record in MLB. Philadelphia, third best record in Major League Baseball. Baltimore. Finally, are we going to show the graphic? There it is. World Series. I mean, how many times a guy got a call for it to get it on the screen? The O's a favorite in game number 1 of this weekend set, over under 7.5.
Look at the smart move predictions right there. 55% for the Phillies to win. Let's see if that plays out on the field. Now, also, weather conditions, about 80 degrees. That's great. Wind blowing in slightly at 6 miles per hour, but there is some chances for thunderstorms in the area, something to keep an eye on. But if we're taking a look at a true pitching matchup tonight, you got a really good one. If we date this back to, let's just say, May 1st, so about 6 weeks here on the diamond, and there are 28 pitchers available today on the card that had at least 10 innings pitched over those past 6 weeks. If we look at the numbers, Kyle Bradish's xFIP minus is a 68. That's number 3 on the card. Ranger Suarez, a 77. That's number 6 on the card. So these pitchers should be informed tonight. Now, granted, we also take a look last night at a game between the Phillies and the Red Sox, Ben, that we had 2 very good pitchers on the mound, but the hot temperatures and the wind, they took control and easily went over that number. We'll see if that changes. The Phillies also tonight expect Alec Bohm to be back in the lineup and not have Bryson Stott in the cleanup role. That should help. But Bradish, over the past 30 days, here, 101 batters faced, Ben. If we take a look at the non-analytical approach and what happened on the field, ISO numbers, 078, weighted on base percentage, 242. That's phenomenal. And then if we take a look here at Ranger Suarez, that we've known has been a great pitcher all season long, his last 30 days, 124 ISO, 279 weighted on base percentage. The pitchers should win out in this game. I just don't like the way the Phillies are playing. So to be honest, even though Suarez is a great pitcher, I don't like this Philadelphia Phillies lineup. I trust the Orioles lineup much, much more tonight.
7.5, that total. Baltimore a favorite. Yes, the O's did lose yesterday when looking for the sweep and snapping their 6-game win streak against Atlanta, but the Orioles have still won 16 of their last 21 games. We're starting to see, Donnie, if Kansas City is for real. The last week has been difficult. Short 2-game midweek set last week against the Cleveland Guardians, the top team in the AL Central. Then hosted the Seattle Mariners, the top team in the AL West. They did win that series, but dropped the finale. Lost the first 3 games against the top team in the American League East, the New York Yankees, but did walk it off coming from behind in the 9th inning yesterday to avoid the 4-game sweep against the Yanks. Now only to turn things around with 0 rest and head out west to the top team in the National League West. That's the LA Dodgers. Tonight at the Ravine, a rare interleague matchup. The Dodgers minus 162 hosting the Kansas City Royals. Total at 8. What happens tonight in Los Angeles?
Yeah, nice night, 72 degrees, typical for Los Angeles. You take a look at the lineup tonight, going up against a left-handed pitcher for the Dodgers over the past month. They actually have 6 guys with weighted on-base percentages in the plus territory. Freeman, Smith, Hernandez, Pajes, Rojas, and Kike Hernandez. Here's the issue. Yesterday got a great start out of Marsh on the mound for Kansas City. Are we looking for a repeat performance night for Reagans? If we take a look again, since May the 1st, Reagans on the card today out of 28 pitchers, he's number 4 at a 70 xFIP minus, which is sensational. And also, when you're taking a look at what he struggles with, right-handed batters for a lefty typically is that struggle point. That's not the case. He actually struggles more with left-handed batters than he does with righties, particularly over the past 30 days. And in order to take advantage of that, maybe the best left-handed batter in the lineup you would figure would be Shohei Ohtani. That's not the case here. A 0 ISO power number through his last 29 at-bats against lefties for Ohtani is quite surprising. But if you take a look at Freddie Freeman's last 30 at-bats, he's got a 308 ISO power number and a weighted on-base percentage of 407. So that might be a little bit of luck that you can get down. Flip it over to the other side, Gavin Stone. You say, oh, look at that. Maybe the Dodgers don't have the advantage on the mound. Gavin Stone since May 1st here. How about this? An 88 xFIP minus number with great splits between lefties and righties. 97 at-bats over the past month, a 283 weighted on base percentage, and an 098 ISO power number. So for my money in this game, I love the offensive guys. They just don't match up against these pitchers. We'll go under at Chavez Ravine tonight.
Now we go to Atlanta. The Braves greater than a $2 favorite. They snapped a 5-game skid in that finale yesterday in Baltimore. Atlanta back home in the ATL. Part of the reason they're greater than a $2 favorite now is because of Chris Sale, who has been electric at the top of that staff now for Atlanta. Is the price justified, though, in the opener of their weekend series against the Rays?
Yeah, that's a tough price to play. It really is, because the focus is always now not really going to be on Atlanta's starting pitching staff, which has been good. How many runs can they get as a lineup? But if we're being honest with ourselves, Ben, again, 28 pitchers on the card today, minimum of 10 innings pitched since May 1st. You know who's the best by a wide margin on this card? It's Chris Sale. And keep this in mind. When I use those analytical numbers of XFIP minus, that 100 is the benchmark number. He's at a 52. That is absolutely outstanding, and rightfully so. You take a look at those analytics and mesh them with what's going on the field. 101 batters over the past month he's faced, a 134 ISO, a 273 weighted on base percentage, walk percentage of only 3%, and a strikeout percentage of close to 31%. He's been phenomenal. And as we know, Tampa Bay certainly doesn't prevent something from happening in the Sale, because that lineup stinks overall, particularly against left-handed batters. Flip it over to Atlanta. Zach Littell, very, very good here, by the way, against right-handed batters, but lefties, he's susceptible. The only issue is you're going to get some lefties in the lineup, but they have been hitting right-handed batters. Why? Because Atlanta really hasn't been hitting anybody at this point. If you are going to take a look at a number, maybe it's run line first 5 innings for Atlanta, because I do believe they have the better pitcher on the mound who's been filthy for the past month and a half. But outside of that, I don't like too much here. The pricing just a little bit off for me, Ben.
8.5. The Braves, one of 3 teams in MLB that have played 60% or more of their games to an under. That includes the Astros. Where is the fork? It's going to be a tough weekend to get things started, even at home in H-Town against Tarek Skubal on the other side for Detroit. 8-1 this year with a 1.92 ERA and a virtual pick'em.
Yeah, by the way, a much maligned Hunter Brown from early in the season. He's really turned it around. And Tarek Skubal, a 60 exit minus since May 1st. I hate to do it to us again. Probably looking for an under in this game as well, Ben.
Total 7, but hard to fault you, DRS, with the trends for the Astros and Skubal on the other side for the Tigers. More around MLB up next. A rivalry renewed to start off this weekend in MLB tonight in Boston. We go to Fenway Park, where we have the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox facing off. A slightly earlier first pitch start, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time on this Friday. It's a day that we love here on the early line in the FanDuel Sportsbook, but it's only known as one thing. Luis Gil on the mound for the New York Yankees. Minus 156, the price in favor of the Pinstripes, even on the road in Fenway. Over-under now stands at 9.5. What do you like in the opener between these two long-standing rivals?
By the way, I do think this is interesting, and you're right, a little bit earlier start. Probably why? Because the NBA Finals are taking place tonight. And also, usually when the Yankees are in town, it's a big deal. Like, I honestly think they probably on every single board at the stadium should just be running the basketball game if this baseball game does run late. But granted, the way baseball gets over, used to be on Sunday Night Baseball, the Red Sox versus the Yankees would take like 7 hours. No longer the case. So you might be out of there by the time the game even starts to get the people watching. But this game itself, you're looking at Brian Bayo on the mound tonight. Does struggle with left-handed batters. You know there's a lefty in that lineup that is a heat-seeking missile, and that's Juan Soto. Should be on your cards. 85 at-bats against right-handed pitching over the past month. 382 ISO, weighted on base percentage, 469. You know the rest of the characters. You're expecting Volpe, Soto, Judge, Verdugo, and Stanton to do some damage along with Gleyber Torres, and they probably will. But on the other side, as we talked about, Luis Gil is on the mound. He's been pretty filthy for this entirety of the Major League Baseball season. If I'm looking at his numbers since May 1st, it's an 84 xFIP minus, which is very good. Now, there are a couple really good batters on this team for Boston, particularly at home. Duran's been good. Hamilton's been good. Devers has been good. Even Emmanuel Valdez, guys that maybe not top of your name when you say, ooh, who's a really good player in Major League Baseball? But I'm still going to leave it up here to the Yankees. I think they have the better pitcher on the mound today and a lineup that can do damage. Temperatures here, not as hot as they were yesterday in Boston, 74 degrees with some rain in the forecast, but we should get some runs from the Yankees side. I think the Yankees handle their business here.
The Yanks did get the win on Sunday Night Baseball in Gil's last start against the Dodgers, 6-4. Gil gave up 3 earned, but he is still 8-1 this year with a 2.04 ERA. That's top 5 in all of MLB. A divisional duel, a rivalry of its own. Today in Chicago, day baseball on a Friday afternoon in the summer months in Wrigley. That's a good time. Minus 122 for the Cubbies, who could use some good vibes, DRS. Now, just 33 and 36 this year, total 7.5. What happens today inside the friendly confines?
Yeah, maybe some home cooking as they get back to the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. But you see that number 8 there for the total. You know what that means. Wind's not blowing out, it's blowing in at double digits from center field. But not all that bad. It's 11 miles an hour, 76 degrees. If we take a look at that Chicago Cubs lineup, the way to get after Kyle Gibson as a right-handed pitcher, he's got very good statistics on the season against right-handed batters. But that does change from a lefty perspective. Over the entire year, 169 lefties he's faced, a 234 ISO, and a weighted on-base percentage of 355. That actually increases over the past 30 days up to a 288 ISO power number and a weighted on base percentage of 438. So there's your trigger point here for the Cubs. Talkman leads off as a lefty. Not great numbers here, but then you start to get into Cody Bellinger, 172 ISO, 331 weighted on base percentage, about average over his last 69 at-bats against right-handed pitching. But then also maybe the best batter in the lineup, which sat out yesterday, Ian Happ, who's a switch hitter, who will bat from the left-hand side today. Get this, 64 at-bats over the past month, 357 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 353. So if we're looking from a Chicago end of it, that's probably the best of it there. Jordan Wicks on the mound for the Cubs, not intel on him, but some of those right-handed batters like Goldschmidt and Arenado and Wynn. By the way, Mason Wynn, the leadoff batter for the St. Louis Cardinals, a guy to keep an eye on here. Yeah. He's been scorching hot over the past month. So I do think, let's buck the trend here. Let's go runs even with the wind blowing in at Wrigley. I think they can get 9 or more today.
Okay. I like that, DRS. The Cubs, by the way, have dropped 14 of their last 20 games, now 3 games below 500. The Cardinals just about a month ago were 9 games below 500. They've won 18 and 10 since May 12th. Now 1 win away if they can pull the slight upset today in Wrigley of getting back to an even 500. California Clash night up by the Bay in San Francisco. The Giants a home favorite against the Angels. What do you like?
Yeah, we got great numbers across the board. It is a true pitcher's ballpark as we understand that. But that 8 is going to be in trouble tonight. Since May the 1st, again, 28 pitchers on the card today. We got a pitcher in Tyler Anderson for the Angels, who is number 28. Spencer Howard for the San Francisco Giants, he's number 26. So 2 bad pitchers in these lineups really look good going up against them. If we're just taking a look quickly at San Francisco, Ramos, 667 ISO, Chapman, 273, Soler, 217, Estrada, 227, Schmidt, 600, going up against lefties over the past month. Take the over in the game. You won't be disappointed.